6 days of pure magic. Human Design Rave Festival 2024.
Hello, hello. Nice to meet
Hello.
you.
Hi. Hey, great to be here chatting with
Hello.
you too.
Hello, Christine.
Hey.
Welcome straight from New Zealand.
Yes, yes. And I'm so excited about what's happening next January in Sofia.
Yeah, but it's so nice to pre-connect before seeing each other live, because that's the great surprise, is that New Zealand is coming to Sofia, Europe, to meet in aura and experience with us, with Christine Spicer, the whole 3D Maya illusion and connectedness with all the human design enthusiasts from all around the world. But now we connect first online, so you guys have the possibility to meet this amazing special person. So, Christine, could you tell us something more about yourself and how you met human design? And you're actually the person who brought human design to New Zealand. So that's very, very special.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's a long time ago now. And yeah, I stumbled across human design actually when I was traveling in Germany in 2005. So my friend Bettina Schaefer was studying human design, and we'd known each other since we were 16 years old. She's a manifester. And yeah, and I remember she put my chart in, and she put she put the chart of my family in first, and then she put my chart in, and she screamed. And I was like, what? Why are you screaming? And she was so excited because not only am I a reflector, but also we'd known each other since we were teenagers. So that was wonderful for her. And then I started on the journey of really just starting to resonate with this incredible system that's human design, because it really answered so much about the strange experience of life that I had been having up until then. And yeah, I mean, I was at that time working in recruitment and human resources. And so I specialized in all sorts of profiling systems, and this was more accurate than those. And so my mind was so amazed because at that time, I guess I took a more intellectual approach to life, and I was fascinated and on one level relieved at what I found, but on the other level, a little bit freaked out by what it might mean for me. And but it resonated really deeply. So I came back to New Zealand after that trip, and looking for the human design analysts or teachers in New Zealand excited to embark on some kind of further journey. And of course, there were none. And I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. It was so frustrating. Here I was, I'd found this amazing system that seemed to have so many answers for me, and yet there was no one here. Yeah, so I had to go to Australia for my first Living Your Design and meet the Australians, and I embarked on the journey of becoming an analyst. Yeah, I don't think I was intending to become an analyst. I really was intending to explore the system. And along the way, yeah, I became the first analyst in New Zealand, and then went on to become the first human design teacher in New Zealand and began Human Design New Zealand. So that professional service started in 2009, and I've been working with it ever since. And now, wow, it's a huge movement here. When I first would say to people, oh, I work with human design, it was kind of like these blank looks. And now I say, I work with human design. Oh, yes, I've heard of that. Yeah. And of course, the internet has done that. You know, there's been so much spreading of the human design via the internet. It certainly hasn't been all me, but yeah, I feel like I'm a little piece of that early puzzle of human design in New Zealand.
Actually, while you were talking, and I was thinking, you said it was such a relief when I met human design, and it's a relief for all of us for sure. But I was thinking, you as a reflector, can you tell us something about yourself pre-human design? Because, like, especially also when you were a child and how you were experienced life in a way. Because I noticed from the reflectors I know and I communicated with that they were quite wise, shall I say, already since children, really learning those lessons apparently of their openness. Maybe, I don't know. It's just, how is it for you and your childhood? How is it actually?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that I've noticed in my life is that place is so important, and I feel so grateful to have been born in the place that I'm born, and in the, because I was born into a place of beauty, and I feel deeply connected to the land here. It's something that just moves me so deeply. I can actually feel it. I'm almost tearing up as I speak about it, because this has been such a nurturing thing for me to live in a place that's a place of beauty. Of course, New Zealand's not all beautiful. There are lots of places that are not beautiful here, but there's something so essential about that, and I feel deeply nourished by my connection with the natural world here. And as a child, that was everything for me. I grew up in a generator family. Actually, all my family are generators. So I kind of grew up in this big enveloping aura of the generator aura, but in this, what felt like a very sacred connection with the land. And I think that I've always been so choosy about where I am. And that's really supported me. And I knew that as a child. I knew that as a child. I used to go out into the garden or go and find little places under trees or be loving being in nature. And somehow I knew as a little child that that was something that really fed me, just putting my back against a tree. That didn't come from my family. I don't know. It was just a natural thing for me. So yeah. And I feel as if, my life has a very strong demarcation between this actually very idyllic, loving childhood. I'm so grateful for the family that I grew up in. And then a huge change when I left home. It was like being in another world, because I moved to Auckland, which is a city, to go to university. And that was a very disorientating experience for me. But I used to go to a place called the Domain, which was close to where I lived, which is a huge, big park with beautiful trees and bush. And so even then, that's how I survived. I used to just leave the high-rise student building that I lived in and go and hang out in amongst the trees. So I guess that's the wisdom that's always served me. And I've always been fascinated with people. So there's always been something there about picking out difference. I've always, my whole life, been looking around and seeing the people who I thought were different. And it was because, when I look back, it was because they were more authentic, they were more themselves. And those are the people I used to like to hang out with. So I feel like I had some really early, I guess, wisdom that was innate.
That's exactly what I was asking for, because indeed innate, like the reflector is not at all so vulnerable, right? As when we see the white chart and all these whiteness, and we're like, oh, it must be difficult, but no, or yes, I don't know, maybe both.
Well, both. It's sort of both, because when when I didn't know, so I had this innate wisdom, but there were many times when I didn't use my innate wisdom. There were many times when I was so overwhelmed in parts of my life, where I wasn't able to tap into that as much as I would have liked, and I didn't know how to make decisions in a way that was going to serve me. Before human design, I made decisions in all sorts of very clunky ways, and often those decisions were to serve other people, not to serve me. And so that was a huge change for me when I found how to make decisions that were going to support me. And when I then understood really what my innate wisdom about place had told me, that was really helpful too, because of course otherwise there were many times that I was in the wrong place and I was with the wrong people, and all sorts of things happened to me that were terrible. And then all of that openness becomes vulnerability. And I definitely had many years in the mid phase of my life where that vulnerability was a danger to me and possibly to other people too, Yeah, so I've learned how to look after myself, I guess, and that's really important. Yeah.
But also you're a 6-2 profile, so the first 30 years are challenging.
Yeah, well, the first 30 years were challenging, and yet for me, that period on the roof, although it was very different, and it does fit with the what we learn in the theory, and I can talk more about that when I do my my session on the 6-2 reflector. Actually, if I would say what was the most difficult period of my life, it was that period on the roof. Yeah. The most challenging period of my life. Yeah, so, and of course I'm off the roof now, and I've been off the roof for a long time, and yeah, it's so fascinating to be a 6-2 reflector off the roof. And of course, when I found human design, I couldn't find any transpersonal reflectors who had gone through their process and were off the roof. And so I really felt like I was stepping into unknown territory with quite a lot of theory, but of course it's my life that really taught me about that process. And it's always been, of course, a fascination to see, is this really true? This theory, is it really true? And I took my experiment, pretty seriously, because when I found human design, I was in my early 40s, just post my Uranus opposition, and I heard about this thing called the Chiron return, and I realized, wow, I've got about 7 years. I've got 7 years to get serious and see, if I really learn to master this system in my own life and in my own body and being, then what will this experience of coming off the roof be like? And that was quite a journey. Excuse me, I just need some water.
And what a serendipity to meet at 7 years. You had 7 years, which is like the first deconditioning process to finish. Yeah. Right before that. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question actually regarding this. Did you, in this 7-year period, did you follow the RAS recommendation of doing a reflector retreat for yourself?
I did. Yes.
What was your experience with that?
Wow. Well, that was an amazing experience. It was probably one of the best things that I've done. And I'm so pleased that I didn't do it too early in my process. I must have almost been qualified as an analyst by the time I did that. And I went to a place which is a place that I love and that I know, and spent that month alone. And I'm so pleased that I was prepared for it, because it wasn't all easy. I was an energy junkie. I had been in my life kind of addicted to energy. And so I remember the first week or so was just so blissful. It was like, oh, this is amazing, you know, because I had a busy life. I've got 2 children, you know, I had quite a big career, lots of responsibilities, all far too many responsibilities. And so that first week was just like such bliss. I felt like I was floating. But then the energy withdrawal hits. And that's like coming off drugs. Seriously, it was like coming off drugs. And I can remember there was a period of time I was lying on the bed, you know, like in the fetal position. And I felt like my body was being kind of pulled. I felt like, you know, there was something as if people were reaching in with their hands and pulling energy out of me. It was the most uncomfortable experience. And it went on for quite some time. And if I hadn't had a good grounding in my strategy and authority of lots of lunar cycles of actually clearing out some of that, because, you know, by then I'd been in my experiment for probably 4 years or something like that. And I had cleared a lot of cellular memory, in fact, that didn't belong there. A lot of energy that didn't belong there. But I would hate to think what would have happened if I'd tried to do that without that experience behind me. So that was quite challenging. But that was that mid phase actually of the time alone. And then when that was over, then it was like I just entered a different frequency is probably the best way to put it. My frequency changed and I was in amongst these big trees. I was up high in a place where, you know, we have a garden for food, and there's these big, huge trees, and I was sort of up felt like I was in the top of the trees looking down over a beautiful beach. And I felt over time this blurring of the edges of me and the trees. You know, it was like I felt like I was the trees and the trees were me and I was them, and time just changed and I was floating in a way that was different to when I started. I think when I started and it was blissful, it was more the relief of just being able to relax and be. Whereas afterwards it was, hard to describe actually. I don't know if that gives you a sense of it, but that was my experience. And then I came out of that experience feeling sparkling on the inside, you know, sort of like somebody had taken a big sort of beautiful soft brush and fluffed me on the inside, and I felt really sparkly and free in a way. It was very special experience. Yeah.
Whew. It's very hard to speak now for me. But I have another question regarding really, maybe it's subjective, maybe it's not even a question for you, but it's very important that human design system as a system that's being transmitted from person to person through personality crystals, through acoustics, preferably through the aura. And for yourself, when you were talking about yourself being a pioneer of human design in your country, and design being brought by a reflector to a country, maybe it's not a question for you, but who can I ask? Yeah, is there a difference between, like, how do you teach?
Yeah.
How do you teach? Yeah, like
How do I
you've
teach?
been
Yeah.
studying with different teachers, and now you can objectively talk about yourself. How is
Mm.
the way you teach human design different from other teachers?
Mm. Yeah, so I love to teach live. So I love to take time. So when I teach human design, when I teach Living Your Design now, I teach it over a period of 4 days, and usually with reasonably small groups. So probably up to 14 people would be the largest group. And I love teaching through the experience, the aura experience, and the body. So I'm very much into, we don't spend a lot of time sitting around looking at slides or talking about things. We do a lot of experiments, and but also a lot of so I'm a trained teacher, and also I trained as a facilitator, and I also trained in accelerated learning, and that was all before human design. And so it's funny how all these things come together, because I've been able to use a lot of my instructional design and accelerated learning techniques to come up with all sorts of ways of people being able to interact with each other to learn human design. And so, and I use a lot of movement, music, I use poetry, I use aura sensing experiments, I use pair work, I use group work. So when people come to my retreats, they have a whole body, mind, spiritual experience. And I always make sure that I'm able to work individually with each person at some point also during the retreat. So yeah, I guess I've developed my own flavor of workshops. ABCs I've taught over a period of 5 days, and Rave cartography over a period of 12 days. And what I decided to do was put together a journey for people, so that there was about 18 months, if, you know, when I was teaching that, if they started with LYD and then did ABC and then did Rave cartography, there was a range of different retreats and workshops over a period of time. So Rave cartography, we did 3 4-day retreats. And so really that then took people through an 18-month experience of coming together again with those same people and building community and learning with each other. And, you know, we used a lot of acting and a lot of theatre also, particularly for Rave cartography, once people knew each other well. And that was a lot of fun. So in a way, what happened from that is that people built relationships. They were able to come back to their live experiment with each other of their strategy and authority and community in the same place as well, set in amongst the bush in a place that was very homey and comfortable. And yeah, so that was quite a beautiful and heartwarming journey to experience human design like that. But I haven't done that for a long time now, because that all ended in 2018, and yeah, I just haven't got back on. I don't know if I'll do that again. I'm still teaching Living Your Design, but what I love teaching is immersions with type immersions. So I've just completed a projector immersion where we had 3 days with just projectors and me, and I learned so much from that, because of course then we make sure there's no one else on the property who's not a projector. And we even had projector caterers as well. And that meant that, you know, really we were in the aura, the projector aura, and that is such a sweet experience. Yeah, it's then that frequency becomes so clear. So I've done that for projectors, I've done it for manifestors, and for generators and manifesting generators, but not yet for reflectors. I can't find the right place yet for reflectors. We'd need a different place. So yeah, that's the way I love to teach.
And maybe you can tell us about actually the lecture you're going to do live in Sofia.
Yeah, so the live session is about the G center. So G center is one of my favorite centers. I am a reflector, and I'm also a completely open G reflector. So I have nothing hanging in my G center at all. And so I just find that to be such a special and magical place. So we're going to do some experiments. I've got some different some things to try out so that people who have defined G centers and people who have open G centers can meet each other in a way that can help us start to have a visceral experience of this G center and have a chance to explore. Yeah, so it's a little bit of playing, a bit of exploring, definitely engaging, and it'll be all about discovering. What do we discover? You know, it's always different each time. Each time we work with a particular center, it really brings the consciousness or frequency of that center alive. And then people have different experiences because everyone's got different designs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be, we need people with defined Gs. We need people with open Gs. There's only one of them. If there's only one of those, then it's hard to experiment. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. I was looking at you guys and I'm thinking energy invites awareness. Because projectors and reflectors are really here to be the awareness and in a way guide that energy. And yeah, I'm grateful that you're gonna come, and I'm grateful that I also know Julia, because there are not so many aware projectors in my life and reflectors. So I'm really realizing that we're blessed to have you guys. It's amazing. So it's so nice that you're going to be coming to Sofia, and also so nice for reflectors because there is so little about reflectors just because there's such little percentage, and we're attracting an amazing number of reflectors as teachers and even volunteers. So reflectors, this is your chance to come and meet other reflectors who are for a long time in the experiment and can really guide you and be there for you for your process. And of course, all the other types can benefit of that. But apparently something is happening, and it's important if reflectors are coming to reflect that. And then comes to me actually the other question. I don't know how relevant is that, but we're really living in crazy times, and reflectors are here to show us how we're doing as humanity, as community. So how are we doing, Christine?
Yeah, well, how are we doing? Yeah, well, it's quite a big question because I guess it depends in which way we look at it, but definitely the last few years has been, you know, it's like the scab being ripped off so much of what has been bubbling away anyway in humanity, and it has been it's been a testing time, I think, to be a reflector. That's been my experience. In a way, for me, it was the last few years has been another layer of conditioning going in very extreme circumstances, noticing the things that I was still identified with, which I hadn't realized I was identified with. And I think that's true for everyone. So, you know, I think in the last few years, and as we move forward, there is so much that so many of us in humanity are, that we think it's us. You know, we think and have been holding on to things that are so embedded in us from, you know, thousands of years of being human. And this process of letting it go is a painful process. And so, you know, I think there are people around, you know, who are sort of in the love and light brigade. I don't necessarily see that is what's happening at the moment for humanity. I think humanity is in this huge shedding process of shedding so much. And for me, my challenge has been to stay present to that and to allow that, you know, to allow that to go through me, and to of course look after myself, of course not step into situations that are too much for me, but would be easy just to be a hermit and just completely step away from all of that. But that doesn't create more space. You know, as reflectors, we're here to create more space. We're here to lift people to the next level, and for that to happen, there's something that has to kind of vibrate out of people at the moment, and that's really what we're in. We're in this stage of everything vibrating up and out that doesn't belong, and whether people can cope with that or not is the question at the moment, but it can't be avoided. And these past 3 years have been another layer of what was embedded in me coming up and out and vibrating out. Well, as much as I've been able, and I'm sure there's more. It's an ongoing process, isn't it? It's been a good reminder to keep using strategy and authority, not to start to think, oh yeah, you know, I know how to use it, I've done it, I'm there, or anything like that. It's been, you know, I've had a few kind of reminders, kind of energetic slaps to say, don't stop now. This is a lifetime. Yeah. Does that help? I don't know if that answers your question.
Listening to you, and I'm thinking, wow, like it means that humanity is healing if it's shedding away things, which sounds healthy from your perspective, to be able to experience all of that frequency, background frequency also. So it sounds optimistic.
Yeah. Well, there's only one direction, you know. That either happens or it stays suppressed, and suppression is not healthy. So healing can be an uncomfortable and sometimes ugly process. It's not necessarily pretty, but it is necessary. It is what's happening. Yeah. In my view.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to also, sharing a bit more when we talk again, you know, to share more about the 6-line life and the reflector 6-line life, because that's the other topic that I'm going to share about. And I feel like this is helpful for reflectors, going back to what you were saying, Veronica, that there's lots of reflectors coming. And for me, it's been always really helpful to be able to find some reflectors, you know, in my early days, to find some reflectors who I could even talk to, because there was no social media when I started with human design. And I think I found eventually, after about 3 years, an email group of people I could talk to who were also reflectors. And I think at the time what I wanted most was to really be able to talk to other reflectors who were further along in their process than me. And of course, eventually I found some. Eventually I did find Misak and Damen. But, you know, I'd been learning from the moon for a long time by then. And I'm so grateful for that process with the moon, because I learned so much just from my own experience. And yeah, and I'm happy to, talk about these 3 phases of the 6 line and the reflector life as as an example for other people who might be looking for those stories to help just make sense of their own experience.
Yeah, this will be super helpful and interesting for people. Actually, there is a symposium of the 6-2 profiles happening, or just happened in Ibiza with Marianne. So that's also interesting. Yeah, we will have some people who were there and will also come. So it will be also interesting to maybe to share.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I attended one of her immersions a few years ago in Ibiza. Yeah, really appreciated that too. Yeah, there's so many wonderful human design teachers, and I hope I hope that people jump on and buy their tickets and start to form that community, because one of the things that I do notice about events is they start way before the event. The energy of the event is already coming, it's already here. And so when is 3 months before the event? Where are we now? So November, December, January.
2 months exactly.
So it's 2 months. So we're in that, the consciousness of it has already arrived and we're moving towards it. And so the more people who start to sign up and come along, I notice that when people sign up for my events, the moment they sign up, their process with that event starts. They're in process then. It becomes more and more potent as we approach it. So if you're out there wondering whether you might buy a ticket and wondering, I can do that later. Well, you can get a more potent event by signing up and starting your relationship with it, because it is a relationship with the consciousness of what's coming. So yeah, love to see you there if you're going to join us.
Amazing. Love the way you explained it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's unusual. It's really, really different. And indeed, there are so many levels that we cannot measure with tools, and we cannot see with the eyes, and they exist, and these are the subtle energies. So exactly the levels that the system that we all live deals with and works with. And that's why probably also strategy and authority is not so simple when we start living it, because they do work on these levels. And follow the response. Yeah, wait for invitation. These words are doorways, the keynotes for spaces that have layers and layers and layers that are only possible to experience with an actual physical body. But there's no way to do that if we don't know they exist. And so is the entities, the pentas, the was, the OC16s. And that's what we're doing. Just like you say, the community, we are creating the entity to really support the correct frequency of the system to keep going, to grow. And just like you're sharing your path, Christine, with your teachers, Miss Argen Darman, the reflectors and other teachers, that you've been studying, and then you've been a teacher to so many people in your country, and then these people probably already start being teachers to other generations, and literally aligning with each other, from people who are still there, those who had a chance to breathe in the original frequency through Ra, and us kind of taking it and spreading it on. It's like these vessels with liquids. We need to communicate, to to align, because the system is growing, the system is developing through us as our DNA mutates, because the mutation is not happening somewhere out there, it happens inside of us. Yeah? And so the system mutates through inside of us, even though, of course, we do not distort the keynotes. It's interesting to see how it grows, how it evolves, and it's only possible through each other. And so that's the essence, that's the place from which the festival is born. Yeah, is we as analysts, as teachers, ourselves are interested to see how it is with our colleagues. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's something so special about meeting in aura, you know, something so nourishing about in aura presence, and so much learning that can't happen at an intellectual level unless people gather. So, you know, that's why I always support live learning. It's a really precious thing. And, you know, it's something that we haven't had enough of over the past years. And yeah, so this seems like an amazing opportunity together. Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Thank you. Well, just thank you. I just really want to,
energy.
I really just want to thank you guys for everything that you're doing. You know, it's amazing. You're putting yourselves out there to be in the experiment of putting this together. And, you know, this is important. It's really valuable for people. And yeah, so just really my heartfelt gratitude for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And guys, see you in the marathon, see you in the festival, see you on the venue, see you on Zoom, see you on in the process, through the process, and we keep evolving with our program, and we adding lots of interactive activities, so we really can get together, meet new people, or be observers, so everybody, according to their design, finds their natural environment, comfortable environment, and upgrade all of us, yeah, through this system.
So please feel invited, initiated, especially if you're a reflector. We would love to see you there, informed, and just, do you want to come? That's what you're getting. From the heart.
And see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank
See
you,
you there.
Christine. Thank you again for spending this hour with us and sharing your wisdom and inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Get your tickets today. See you soon.